Diaries of a Madman. By What Must I Do? Chapter 204, Part 3 of 3. Magic is amazing, the White One whispered. Those golems are also controlled by magic, right? They're controlled by runes, I said. Those are like magical words that you carve into things. Just one metal golem is more than enough to take down two of the most powerful mages in the tower. I've seen it firsthand. Is that what happened to the mages in the book? Taya asked. Sure is, I replied with a nod. They smarted off to Athena, so she sent that metal monstrosity to take them on. It was over in seconds. I mean, you were literally using that rock golem for target practice, and the metal golems are considerably stronger. They're essentially immune to magic, and since they're made of super hard materials, they're also essentially immune to melee attacks. Thankfully, all of them in the real world belong to me, so it's not really a concern. Wait, they don't belong to the princess, the Red One asked. I know you're the great hero and all that, but why do you own something so strong? My crew was the one to develop them, I said. In my travels, I happened to find someone who was able to teach one of my followers how to create these golems. And then later, I found someone else who was capable of obtaining the resources I needed to make a lot of them. And right now, as we speak, my followers are tearing minerals, stones, and wood from the face of the earth and turning them into a massive army of golems just like those. Well, I guess it makes sense for a hero to have an army, the White One said with a shrug. Doing heroic stuff will be easier with one, after all. More importantly, it'll be less dangerous, I said. There's no reason for me or Taya to go out and fight when we have golems that'll do it for us. Isn't enjoying fighting enough of a reason? Taya asked. Are you even trying to pretend to be normal? That will probably depend on the circumstances, I said. But between the golems and the rest of my vassals, I don't see much giving us trouble. What about Arachne? Watcher asked. There are exceptions, of course. The conversation continued, but I was forced out of it by Daria. Luna and the others will be returning from the bunker soon. If your intention is still to have the children avoid everyone else, you should consider getting them to head home. Let Taya know. I won't make them leave, but she might want them to get out before things get weird. I doubt she would be dumb enough to just tell them to leave, but make sure she knows to be polite about it. It's starting to get fairly late, Taya said, looking out the window. The sun was definitely setting, at this point. If I had to guess, the rest of our vassals will be getting back soon. You two should escape before they get here. Things get weird around Luna. Is that really what you'd consider polite? Weirder than a cat named Cot, the Red One asked. Luckily, Cot wasn't currently in the room. That was a little unusual, but I was still glad I didn't have to deal with her all over me. Yes, Luna is definitely stranger than Cot, I said. Living on the moon for 1,000 years will do that to someone. Given how normal the two of you are, I would definitely recommend heading back before everyone else returns. I never thought being called normal could feel like an insult, the White One whispered. Be prepared for anything, because life can come at you fast, Watcher said. Despite how my ladies put it, their words are wise. Should you visit again in the future, I definitely recommend doing so when most of the other inhabitants are away. This home is not fit for the faint of heart. I only screamed at the griffin for 3 whole seconds, the White One proudly replied. But I also still haven't met the giant spider. You mean the one playing the piano? Taya asked. That made their eyes widen, of course. I'll introduce you on the way out. Come on. Of course, neither one seemed that much in a hurry to follow her. But Taya showcased her magical might by carrying them along behind her with telekinesis. Just like that, I put the two of them out of my mind for the indefinite future. Or at least, I tried to, but the incoherent shriek coming from the front room was a little disconcerting. It suddenly cut off before I could worry enough to do anything about it, though, so I stopped thinking about it. So, there's apparently some kind of celebration tonight, Watcher said. Do you happen to know anything about that? Celestia's making me a countess. She's blaming it on my accomplishments. When Doppel found out, she decided to celebrate, so that's what we're doing. I see. Well, congratulations, I guess. Oh, and Celestia's also making me found a village. She's even going so far as to force colonists on me. It's a pain, truly. It seems like Celestia is in quite the hurry to boost your position and power. That's interesting. It's not like I'm able to turn her down, I said. I could, theoretically, force the issue, but I feel the need to be careful around her. Besides, at this point, building more power seems like a good idea. I'm not sure getting tied more closely to Equestria is the best choice, but I don't really have any better options at the moment. Marrying Gilda isn't a better choice, he asked. I think being married to royalty would give you more options than being a countess of Equestria. You could easily influence that country however you wanted. You wouldn't have to start from scratch with some minor village. Yeah, but then I'd have to marry Gilda. I mean, she's not the worst option out there, but I just told her it was over. Going back on that now would feel weird. Plus, a village is a good test. If I can't run one of those, I have no business running a country. Besides, if I had to pick, I'd say developing something from scratch with people I can trust is better than trying to take over something pre-existing, especially since it might be full of people with vested interests. And developing my town from scratch will be ideal in terms of architecture and design, too. Equestria's aesthetics are too gaudy and they have no concept of urban planning. Every pony city I've been to is a nightmarish warren of side streets, back alleys, and nonsensical designs. That's perfectly fitting for a city made of clouds, but letting your own capital city degrade that far is inexcusable. The Griffin capital is basically copied from Canterlot, in at least some aspects. And half the Griffins literally live in trees. The town I build is going to be planned out properly. And so, it's not like you could turn her down, he replied with a sigh. Right. Does this mean you've decided to stay in Equestria for the foreseeable future? Watcher asked. Out of all the countries I've been to, the standard of living here is the highest. My reputation is a little weird, but overall good. I'm a ranking noble. My relationship with the ruler is mostly acceptable. I honestly never really considered just settling down and being a normal noble when everything was all said and done, but I guess it actually is an option. My business ideas will probably give me plenty of power on their own. What do you think I should do, Watcher? By the time it's all said and done, I have a feeling you'll be a duchess. It's entirely possible your existence will be necessary for Equestria's continued existence. That's how much Celestia relies on the other dukes. Escaping at that point might be difficult. But, there are worse things in the world than being one of the most powerful people in the most powerful nation on the planet. You have plenty of marriage prospects that would allow you to continue living as you are. Twilight or Fleur, in particular. Personally, though, I have to say it. If you're going to let Celestia turn you into a duchess, you honestly might as well just let her turn you into royalty. Unless you truly just find the idea of marrying her that abhorrent. It's an option I feel the need to be wary of, but it's not off the table. If I did end up getting promoted to duchess, do you think I could still marry another country's royalty? Do you really want to risk marrying her? Watcher asked. Chrysalis may be trying to leave her old self behind now, but there's no telling how long she'll keep up the attempt. I highly doubt Nulscha will revert back to her old ways anytime soon, but there aren't any elementals stopping Chrysalis. Well, marrying her would help ensure she doesn't fall back into her old ways. Between the two, Moonbeam is definitely sexier, scarier, and relatively evil. I haven't gotten a full read on Nulscha's personality yet, but she seems to have the same personality Oldulscha put on to fool people. It just feels more earnest, like it's not an act. So that makes her nicer, probably wiser, and more gentle. Is it weird that I'm having a hard time picking? I really didn't want to be the one to have to say this, but... Yes. Seriously, what is wrong with you? A repentant monster is still a monster. I understand that you might have some special memories with Chrysalis or Moonbeam, whatever she wants to call herself now, but she was centimeters away from conquering Equestria. You might not have much attachment to this country, but most of the rest of us do. The thought of Equestria's hero marrying that bug is just wrong. I know I told everyone to be casual with me, but isn't this pushing it a little? How were relations between ponies and changelings while you were a soldier? I ask. I know your unit was involved in a mission in one of their cities during the invasion, but I don't know how things were before then. We've rescued ponies from hives before, but they're never the same afterward. It's hard to come back, mentally speaking, from being gang raped by monsters and impregnated with their eggs. They aren't usually physically harmed, but something is definitely done to their minds. If I'm being honest, most of them didn't want to be rescued by the time we got there. Whatever the changelings did made their victims enjoy it. If the princess deems that using criminals for that purpose is acceptable, I'm not one to stand in her way. But the changelings were doing it to ponies they just kidnapped off the streets. That bug you're so close to was the one at the head of it all. And you're talking about marrying that thing. Not only that, but one of your other options is Princess Celestia, and you're having a hard time deciding. I think any equestrian who heard that would be dumbfounded and insulted, really. I see. Obviously, I have no right to stand in your way. Nor do I have any intention to. But I want as little to do with the changeling nation as possible. I'm surprised so many of you are okay with Doppel. It's hard to hate someone who's so willing to take it in whatever hole you prefer, he said, shrugging. I thought it might be a problem at first, but she found some creative solutions around it. Obviously not all changelings are evil, but it can be difficult to get along with a species who preys on your kind. Then you'll be happy to know that there will almost definitely be a changeling whorehouse or two in the village. I guess I should also mention that the colonists I was given are a very interesting bunch. Changelings, kobolds from Hawaii, monkeys from South America, Naga from a failing cave, and a group of mercenaries for security. I'm sure Celestia would be willing to give you royal guards for free, he said. Why pay mercenaries? I've seen the state of the equestrian military. Unless she has a lot more spec ops guys like you lying around, I don't think any guards I get will be better than mercs. That said, I'll get you their information later so you can do some digging. But I know for sure that their leader can beat me in a fight, if that means anything. Although I stomped him into the ground with Aqua's help, so he might not realize it. The difference with Aqua in charge is that dramatic? Well, I guess she's Daria now. This was an unarmed fight during a tournament at Griffiths. If I had my sword, it may have been different. But he had strength and reach over me. The only way to win would be technique, and I haven't really done much hand-to-hand training, especially not against something with two legs. That can be fixed, Kot said from behind me, making me jump. An instant later, her arms were wrapped around me. You should be good enough to sense me coming and skilled enough to avoid or break a simple hold like this. I'm reasonably confident that I could get away, but you're comfy enough that I don't bother, I replied. And I'm not really sure what you mean by sensing. I'm comfy, Kot whispered, giggling a little. Comfy. I think she means instinct, Watcher said. It's hard to sneak up on a pony, since our eyes are positioned differently, but I can still tell when something is coming at me in my blind spot. Maybe it's something to do with the flow of air against my fur, maybe it's some kind of innate magic that warriors pick up, or maybe it's just raw animal instinct. But most veterans pick up skills like that. If it's fur, that one's out, I said. Even if I went nude, my body doesn't grow much hair anymore. My skin might be sensitive enough to pick up wind, but probably not minor air currents. If it's animal instinct. Well, I'm part tree, so that one may also be out. Magic is a maybe. I can't do active magic since I don't have a soul, but passive magic like flying seems to work anyway since it's something everyone believes in. Well, I can still train you, Kot said. You were getting pretty good at knife fighting before the coma. We'll need to see if you've gotten rusty. That sounds like a problem for future me, I said. Although I could probably train some in my dreams. I recently discovered a way to link dreamers together, so I could have both you and the Naga with me. I saw your fight against Sombra, Watcher said. You could do with a four-legged opponent, too. Celestia would be your best bet, but I'd be willing. Then it'll be you, I said. I never want to fight her again. Sore loser. Celestia called from the entrance to the anteroom. We all looked over there, but she was nowhere to be seen. Is she using magic to eavesdrop from the kitchen? Kot whispered. Or using one of the elementals to eavesdrop, I said. She's just doing it for attention, so ignore her. So far, I've only used the ability to give Kadans total control over her wife's dreams. It'll be nice to put it to use for good, instead. Did you just say her wife's dreams? Watcher asked. Did I? Must have misspoke. I definitely didn't mean to imply anything about what Shiny secretly enjoys. Kot snorted and Watcher rolled his eyes. I also need to talk to Luna and Twilight about the ability. We can probably do some pretty fun stuff with it. Though I think Luna knows something similar. It's a shame she had to go crazy at that party, Watcher said, shaking his head. It's such a cool concept. How much do the guards know about what happened that night? I ask. Pretty much all the night guards know something bad happened between you and Luna, but as far as I know, none of us know exactly what happened. But given her obsession with you and the legendary confession of hers, I kinda have an idea. I guess there's not much reason to keep it a secret, but I would prefer if you didn't spread it around. To begin with, I was basically forced into becoming Luna's boyfriend shortly after becoming her knight. This led to me trying and failing to help her with her estrus. When I failed, I decided to break things off with her to the best of my abilities, since I deemed the risks involved with staying together were greater than the risks involved in trying to separate. Some time later, she and Celestia swapped bodies for a little while. I asked Celestia in Luna's body to go on a date to make Luna jealous for reasons that made sense at the time. A day later, they swapped back and didn't tell me. They wanted to trick me into dating Luna herself, but I figured it out and cancelled. And then, the party happened. That night, Luna pretended to be her sister in disguise and followed me around as my date. Eventually, she brought me to a private room and tried to trick me into having sex with her. Flo warned me at the last moment. I escaped the dream, did something to stop Luna from following me, then got Celestia's help to deal with her. Shortly after, I left Equestria entirely. Luna got imprisoned. The only one who could keep her there was Shining Armor, so Celestia secretly told him to head north to the Crystal Empire and then ordered Luna to escape. Well, that answers several questions, Watcher said. I'm interested in this so-called legendary confession, Kot said. That was traumatizing, so I'd rather not talk about it, I said. That was actually worse than going through some of what she confessed about. I can't deny she has some balls, though. That was definitely a life ruiner. Now I'm even more interested, Kot mumbled, snuggling me closer. I hadn't really thought about it, but I do see how that could be painful for you, Watcher said. Luckily, none of the journalists were fast enough to get a picture of you before you left, but I'm told your expression was one of horror. Probably. I was saved from having to think about it by the arrival of my filly. Are your friends safely away? Yes, but Lila spent way too long panicking over the giant spider. Her screams got old fast, so I muted her. She still kept freaking out, though. Spider ended up crying and running back to his tree. That girl needs to get her shit together, I said. Caught, go bring Spider back in. I'm honestly surprised she waited for me to give the order, but she left immediately. What about the red one? Did he panic? No, he likes bugs. He was scolding her as they walked off. I'll happily tell her to get her shit together for you, mommy. If it wouldn't be too much of a problem, I said, nodding. Don't tell your daughter to say things like that, Watcher immediately replied. You're nobles now, remember? Oh, right, sorry, I said. Tell her to get her excrement together. That's fine, right? Please tell me you're joking, Watcher said. I honestly need to hear it, even if it's a lie. I'm joking. Was I, though? Don't actually say that, Taya. It would be nice if you could get her to apologize, but remember that forced apologies mean nothing. Oh, and maybe next time she's here, you should tell her this place is haunted. The ghosts haven't been too big of an issue, but they do get annoying sometimes, Watcher said. I still can't hang any pictures in my room, but I can finally at least put a mirror against the wall. Wait, then why is there a huge picture of me in the front room? I ask. Shouldn't the ghosts knock it down, too? That's where the noble's portrait is supposed to go, so of course they wouldn't mess with it, Watcher said. Or at least, that was Zecora's reasoning. Typical. If they do come here to practice again, maybe you should wear your armor, too. That would probably give you a power boost. I'll need to try it out first, Taya said. You wanna show me how to put it on, mommy? I might be able to figure it out, but we should wait until Luna gets back so she can tell us all the features. The armor they made us is dangerous, in the sense that it greatly increases our strength. If we aren't sure what all it can do, we might hurt others accidentally. So, they made Taya a set of runic armor. Watcher asked. Sure did. I picked it up today, along with my own set and those 3 golems. Why did you bring back golems? He asked. Because they looked cool and I wanted them. For now, they're defending the house. In the future, I'll have them defend the village. There were a bunch just sitting around on the ship, so I didn't see any harm in taking some. They're good for target practice, Taya said. Their runes seem to make them immune to certain types of magic. That effect may wear off after enough hits. Be sure to watch for that. Of course, mommy. Suddenly, a loud pop rang out through the house, the telltale sign of teleportation. It sounded like it was coming from above us, so that was almost definitely the away team. Sounds like everyone's home, I said. Taya, feel free to borrow Luna whenever she has spare time. Then I'll go. She was cut off by Luna suddenly teleporting next to us. We have returned, my lady, Luna said with a bow. Would you like a detailed report of our activities today? I don't think the details are necessary, but a report is fine, I said. Understood. My advance team uncovered 2 more collapsed tunnels. Both were full of high-level anomalous activity. We continued through the safer of the 2 tunnels and found what we believe to be one of your primary targets, the so-called black market. Unfortunately, it's dangerously haunted. Reclaiming relics will be inadvisable for the moment. Well done, I said with a smile. The black market acts as a hub for a good portion of the rest of the bunker. Once we make headway in there, exploring everywhere else will be easier. That's good to hear, but I fear it will be some time before Zecora can make it that far. There are still plenty of passages left for us to explore, so we'll still be able to find more relics until then. A good chunk of the bunker is safe, but the areas with spirits tend to have more relics. It's a shame you blew up the bunker in Antarctica, I said. But it would probably be a few lifetimes before it would be safe enough to plunder, so I guess there's no use crying over spilled milk. I admit that even my magic had trouble penetrating the materials that bunker was made of. I know I riled up the undead, but I honestly don't know how much damage I did to the structure itself. I couldn't even find a way inside. It's possible it's still intact. So, what, you just told Celestia the job was done when you had no clue? I ask. Well, I was pretty done with her at that point, you know? Sure, dealing with the undead was important I guess, but my heart wasn't into it. I made a huge mess of the ice, sent Celestia a few pictures, and went back to Tartarus to mope. I never thought I would praise a vassal's laziness, but here we are, I said, reaching over to pat Luna on the head. She beamed with pride. So, you remember how I said, before, that easy sources of power that involve using sapient souls is evil? I do, Luna said with a nod. Well, as it turns out, a large chunk of the spirits in the Russian bunker are evil. Like, the rapist and cannibal kind of evil. I'm not sure if harvesting their souls would be evil or not, so I might take you and Taya along with some soul gems to speedrun that bunker and kidnap all the baddies. With Ava's input, we can avoid harvesting anyone who isn't rotten to the core. Ooh, that sounds fun. Taya said. Speedrunning the bunker in the coma was great. And with our armor, we'll both outlevel and outgear the dungeon. It's basically like going back to a finished map to collect all the missed drops, at this point. Am I supposed to understand any of that? Luna asked, tilting her head. I'm completely lost, Watcher said. It was fine until they got to speedrunning, whatever that is. Maybe they're saying it'll be easy now. Luna said, tilting her head the other way. That seemed to be the overall implication, no. That round goes to Wuna, I said, bopping her. She still seemed confused, but smiled anyway. Dinner should probably be ready sometime soon. Whenever you have some spare time, can you show Taya how to put on her armor and teach her what it does? I would be honored. Now is fine, if Taya is free. Now is perfect. Taya replied. I want to be able to crush a boulder with my hooves. That will be doable, Luna said. I believe the armor will give us a fighting chance against the golems, so something like a boulder will be trivial. Is it upstairs? Yep. Taya's horn lit up and they both teleported off. I guess that means I'm not invited, I said. They have to grow up eventually, Watcher said. At that point, more of the guards started filtering in from the main room. Welcome back, everyone. Anything to report? All's well, sir, Sentinel replied. We made progress and located one of our objectives. Assaulting it is impossible, but we'll be launching small recon teams soon. Is it safe enough for that? I ask. The things I ran into down south weren't so forgiving as to let someone just sneak by. At that point, 4 of the guard squads, Zakora, Original Gilda, Felix, Silver Quill, and Ames were in the room. I had no idea what Silver Quill was doing at the bunker, but she came back with everyone else. I'm also not sure why Felix thought he was welcome in my house, but it's not like he would be dumb enough to try anything. Cod and Spider never came back into the sun room, so they probably took one of the side entrances and went upstairs. Aurora was trundling in a cart with enough tea for everyone on it, kindly enough. Magic won't permanently destroy spirits, but it will weaken them long enough to allow us to get away, Sentinel said. There are places we've written off as no-go zones. It's possible this area will get the same designation after future exploration. We haven't lost anyone yet, but there have been some close calls and at least 2 teams got a little cursed. Wait, cursed? Nothing major. Shining armor cleared it up in no time. We're being as careful as we can be, my lady. There's no need for you to worry over us. I'm pretty sure it's my duty as the one giving you orders to worry over you. But you're all professionals, so if you say you're being careful, then I'll put my heart at ease. There's no need to put on the noble act at home, my lady, Sentinel said. The worry, at least, is real. Anyway, now that just about everyone's here, I have some small announcements to make. First, I hired 2 more maids. Their names are Evening Mist and Sunset Breeze. They're twin sisters and I believe both are single. Several of the male guards grinned at that news. Sentinel rolled her eyes. Second, my noble rank is being elevated to Countess. You're skipping Baroness? Sentinel asked. That's pretty unusual, isn't it? Celestia said my rank should have started at Baroness and the only reason it didn't was because she was too paranoid. And beating the zone of alienation was enough to increase my rank, or so Celestia claimed. Since my original rank was supposed to be Baron, she decided to just make me a Countess. When Doppel found out, she decided to celebrate. So that's what we're doing tonight? One of Gilda's talons shot up. Since we helped you gain a noble rank, can we get another bonus? Bonuses are paid out based on the sum of the loot acquired, I said. And I'll be happy to pay out a percentage. I'm essentially no one without my team. Silver, have you done any work on calculating the value of what we looted? I was able to calculate the value of the metals, ores, gems, equipment, and the legal alchemical ingredients. I was not able to calculate the value of the magic items, the ancient human relics, the scientific notes, and, quite a lot of other things, if I'm honest. I haven't sold any of the items yet. One of the princess's accountants told me they could arrange for a state-sponsored auction of goods from the infamous zone. The tax rate he offered was incredibly favorable and with the princess herself spreading the word, we'll make at least triple the appraisal value. Take that deal, I said. I'll allow everyone who was part of the team to take a few items from what we looted. Everything else will be sold and everyone will receive a percentage. Or at least, everything I classify as actual loot. We probably don't need to sell that scientific data and some of those relics. We'll want to study the magic items before deciding whether to keep them, sell them, or give them to the tower. Why would we give anything to those fogies? Original Gilda asked. Good point. We'll give the useless ones to Jack instead. I'm sure his crafters can have fun with them. Felix slowly lifted one of his paws. Welcome to my home, Felix. Yes, you'll receive a percentage as well. Thank you, but I had another question, he said. Princess Gilda has kept to her end of the bargain and released me. I've been tentatively hired to help excavate the bunker. I mentioned before that I know the location of other ruins with valuable artifacts. Would you be willing to hire me to explore those as well? I'd be happy with a percentage payout after each ruin, along with being able to keep a few items here and there. Yes. You've seen the best talent that I have on offer. Do you need anyone else, or will we be enough? I do have a few colleagues I would like to contact, if possible. Their leader is a powerful dog mercenary. I actually had him on standby in Griffiths to break me out if things went poorly. He probably hasn't gone far. His group won't be cheap, but they're worth the money. His specialists will be able to cover for the numbers we lack. Find them if you can, I said. I'll hire them if the price is right. My lady, didn't you mention hiring dog mercenaries that you met in Griffiths? Watcher asked. Yeah, but what are the chances it's the same guy? It was a huge festival. Felix, was your friend's name Rin Tin Tin? He blinked a few times before nodding. It seems you have quite the talent for recruitment, my lady. How did you meet him? In the ring of an arena. He left it carried on a stretcher. He recently sent an application to work under me. I've accepted, but he hasn't arrived to discuss the details yet. Impressive. He's the strongest paw-to-paw and melee fighter I know. I cheated a little, but that's not important. Start working out a list of the ruins you know, along with their positions on a map. If possible, include what you know about their original inhabitants, the artifacts inside, and what dangers they might possess. Please include any ruins that don't have artifacts, because it's possible they have historical or cultural value. I won't have you guys wasting time on those, of course. That'll take a little while, but it's definitely doable. And I have a warning for you. I took a moment to look around the room to make sure someone wasn't present. Watch out for Cot. She might be trying to have a child to pass on the blood servant title to. His ears shot straight down and his whole body shivered. I think I'll return to the bunker tonight. Some guards shot him looks of pity. Others had envy in their eyes. So, that leaves me with 2 more announcements, I said. The third is that Felix is now part of the team. Everyone, welcome him. There was some apathetic applause. And the fourth is that I'll be founding a village at the Everfree on Celestia's order. That comes with being a countess, apparently. The university will be part of that town. I've already got the first batch of colonists sorted out, but it'll take some time for the buildings to be ready for them. You guys will probably be helping with some of it. Silver, I'd like you to help train some new accountants from the colonists. You won't be able to keep track of everything alone. I'm not sure I'm the best teacher, but I can try, she said. Well, I'm sure there will be some talented people among those who are coming. You probably won't have to train them much, if I'm honest. But they won't know how to do paperwork the pony way, so that's something they'll need to be taught. Oh. That makes it much easier. Wait, are the colonists not ponies? Nope. We'll have Naga, kobolds, changelings, monkeys, and mercenaries. Once the town gets large enough, Celestia will allow ponies to move in. The griffins might also send some colonists. That got some of the guards to mutter, but no one spoke up. I'll have you guys help here and there, but your main jobs are to guard me and act as my hands in the world. Although if any of you want a house in the village, it can be arranged. I have a plan to clear out the Everfree and make it safer, but it'll take time and work. Those who get in on it early will have a higher stake in the town. Can I invest? Original Gilda asked. As a private investor, not as a griffin noble. Yes. I'm curious, though. Do you have actual plans or do you just want to throw in cash? My domain's main exports are lumber, fresh game, and copper. The lumber and fresh game come from the vast cursed forest on our land. Wait, you get fresh game from a cursed forest? That's what we call monster parts. Basically, the Forest of Shadows is a less scary, less profitable version of the Everfree forest. But all my retainers are experienced hunters and I have a ton of lumberjacks who are used to working in evil forests. I can spare a few to help clear the Everfree if we can keep a percentage of what we take out. I want as many monsters taken alive as possible, I said. I have uses for them. I'm planning on forming a monster hunting corps at the university. Your retainers can work with them to help bring monsters in alive. I'll pay a good bounty for them. Why can't Jonathan just sweep the forest? Sentinel asked. I don't want to rely on him for everything. And he can't be everywhere. I'm confident that we can use a combination of teamwork and poison to bring down the monsters in the Everfree. If there are any that are too dangerous for the hunters, Taya and I can take advantage of our status as tree sisters and take them down with no resistance. And I'm also fine with your lumberjacks going to work in the forest, but I don't want to clear-cut the whole thing. Once sectors have been cleared of monsters and uncursed, I'd like the griffins to go through and prune the forest. The place is magical, but it's still completely unmanaged. I'm sure the wood will have interesting properties. Forests can be uncursed? Gilda asked. Depends on how it was cursed, but almost definitely. Zakorum might be the better one to ask, though. I got lucky in figuring out the Everfree's problem. I knew the Everfree was cursed by a spirit of nature, but I didn't realize it was a tree sister, Zakora said. I've gone with Luna to meet her. After a discussion, we decided that if you want to purify the Everfree, it would be best to plant your cherry blossom trees in strategic locations as you clear out monsters. Once the perimeter of the forest is secured, we can slowly push in. If we just give Poira a seed and release her, the monsters will no longer feel the need to stay in the Everfree. That's very good to know, I said. How many seeds do you think it'll take? Probably 15 total. That's just an initial estimate, however. They can come from either you or Taya. I have a book on tree siblings, I said. I'll have one of the elementals translate it so everyone can read it. We have the recipe that creates a potion that turns you into a tree sibling. If anyone is interested in doing it, I won't stop you as long as you've read that book first and are willing to help conquer the Everfree with me. Just note that a tree sibling can only have kids with other tree siblings. Being a tree sibling has a lot of benefits, but giving up your species to become something else takes a lot of determination. Is that offer good for me, too? Felix asked. I might make that a reward option for you. For now, that option is relegated to people who were already employees. Sorry, but that's a lot of power to give someone. Understandable, my lady. I thought it might protect me from unwanted advances. I'm sure you'll manage. Anyway, that's all the announcements I have. Dinner should be ready soon. It'll be fancier than usual, which is the celebration. Does anyone else have any reports for me? If not, I think I'll head upstairs to relax until dinner. Silence filled the room for a few seconds. Watcher ended it by saying, We'll send someone to get you when everything's ready, my lady. Thank you. With that, I left the sun room. As soon as I was clear, everyone started talking at once. They had a lot to talk about, so I happily left them to it and began the long trek up the stairs. I listened for Kot or the sound of crying, but I wasn't going to go barge into Kot's room to check up on them. If she needed help handling it, she would have brought him to the sun room. Instead, I went straight to my room. It's been a long day. I really don't want to deal with celebrating tonight. Think they'd care if I just went to bed? Doppel would nag you about it forever, Flo said. And it would set a bad example for your new staff. Just participate as little as you can. Impossible. Everyone will be begging for my attention. Having Celestia here just cements it. I'm in the calm before the storm. This long day isn't over yet. Don't worry about Celestia, Daria said. She knows you're tired. She's doing her best not to annoy you. After all, there's no way she'd ever be allowed back if she did. It doesn't seem like she needs permission. She squeezed right past all my excuses like they weren't even there. Telling her no outright would have been awkward, which she took advantage of. But if she did annoy me, I would do my best to make sure she couldn't return. And that's exactly why she doesn't want to cross any lines, Flo said. She won't trouble you too much, Nav. We'll see. So when are you two getting back? Within 15 minutes, Daria replied. I request permission to be your pillow tonight. That's my job. Flo immediately shot back. First come, first serve, Daria coldly said. I'm with Daria. First come, first served. However, I'm not sure I need or want a waterbed to begin with, so the point is moot. There's nothing on the other side of that huge window but air, Flo said. You do have a golem as a guard now, but you really should have someone else. If you aren't going to sleep with Kot anymore, you should at least have an elemental with you. True. In that case, half of you can protect Taya. Anyway, how's the surveying going? Well, Daria said. The land leading up to the forest is a plain, so it was already mostly flat. We cleared out all the large rocks, cut all the grass and weeds, and set up basic measurement markers here and there. We'll expand our efforts tomorrow. We should have everything mapped out tomorrow, and we can begin preparing districts the day after, Flo said. The laptop contained a lot of info about city development. Putting that to use will be a lifesaver. Good. Cuddle me when you return. I should be here. They both replied in the affirmative. With that, I finally opened the laptop and vegged out. It was great, but it didn't last nearly as long as I would have liked. Dinner was all right, I guess. Sure enough, Celestia was just annoying enough that I couldn't say anything about it. Luna was cattier than usual, but that was to be expected. All things told, it was worth it. Doppel's after-dinner party was much better. My long day ended on a pleasurable note. End of Chapter 204.